Alright, we are recording for chapter 4 of Wrath of Khan in this. Um, it, I really like this chapter, and it's just, I kind of want to say I wish it were shorter, so then it would be a bit easier for me to talk about all of it, because it would be broken up across more videos. That's not the case, however, but yeah, that's why you take notes and make highlights. Yes, I really like this chapter. There's several things going on, and there is just stuff in there that I do really, really like how it's being handled. Um, okay, so it starts with Peter, who he wants to leave engineering because he has math lessons from Savick, and it's just currently scheduled for this time, and he wants to go, but Scotty stops him. Oh, I forgot to make that note. Hang on. I will make that. I do find Scotty's accent in the writing to be quite distracting and over the top. Yeah, some of it is like, okay, I need to translate this. It is that thick. And I don't recall it being that thick through the series and the movies. They're present, yes, but not like this. And now I'd still say it's a bit much. It's a bit more than it needs to be. But I will just add, like how, I've mentioned previously about my own bias with certain things. I know that writing an accent is something I basically have no skill to do. Just can't do it. Because it's not how I think. It's also therefore not how I write. So that's probably one thing that word choice might be something to help distinguish a character's voice. But chances are, if you read any of my books, certainly any of the 5 out now, remember I only recommend 3, but any of the 5 now, and probably any in the future, I would not be surprised if everyone sounds like they're from the same place. They have the same accent. Sorry, that's legitimately one thing that I don't think I will ever get better at. There are other things I think I might be able to get better at. That's not one of them. But this still feels over the top. But anyway, yeah, so he has to leave for his math lesson, and but sir, I'll be late. Then you'll be late. What did you mean with that display of impertinence? Oh boy, Peter thought. Now I'm in for it. With the whole left-handed spanner thing. Hang on. I just want to. Oh, and Peter ends up saying, the wrong things to his uncle, because of just trying to say to him that he was trying to explain he was embarrassed because of the whole. I didn't want people to know you were my uncle. Is that something to be ashamed of? No, I don't want people to think anything about it. Why? You think I'm gonna treat you nicely or anything? What was it? Are you embarrassed to be my nephew? No, I'm not. It just seems like everybody will think I only got here because of it. You've so little faith in me. I just want to pull my share. Not the right thing to say. Because Scotty does understand the whole. No, he needs to pull it. He would never do that to somebody. Yeah, I see Uncle Montgomery said, "'Tis not yourself you doesn't trust. 'Tis me." Which I'm very sure would translate to, "'Tis not yourself you don't trust. It's me." Okay, it's not yourself you don't trust. It's me. And it's just, okay, some of that it took me a moment, but it is just not the easiest thing for me to read. I'm not. I think I definitely grew up during the hooked on phonics age. I don't remember specific. No, I was taught sounded out. I was taught that. So at least some aspects of that, but it's still, this is a bit much for me. Maybe it's. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in part because of how my speech impediment is sometimes in a voice, sometimes not. You think I do ye the disservice of letting ye off easy? If you think you haven't been working hard enough, we'll see if we canna get ye a bit of change. A bit of a change. A change. Ooh. It's hard for me to vocalize it, so it's hard for me to read it as well and translate it, because, yeah, it just... This is what I mean by it feels a bit over the top. But then we go back into Peter's mind. I'm definitely going to be late to math, Peter thought. Lieutenant Savick will cancel the lesson, and on top of everything else, it's going to take me 3 days to get Uncle over his snit. Well, smart kid, was it worth it? He remembered the look on the Admiral's face when he gave him the left-handed spanner, and decided it was. I like this guy. I mean, it is one of those things where, yeah, sometimes a joke is worth it. And also, as he even does try to point out, or is pointed out in this, he doesn't like being made fun of. He doesn't like being laughed at. And so he needed to do something back. And it was a fair joke. Okay, left-handed spanner, which undoubtedly that's like having two left socks, and it's like socks on left and right. So it's that kind of thing. Just, it was a fair joke. And arguably, it would also be, that could also serve as an icebreaker kind of joke as well. That if the rest of the crew there were tense because it's Admiral Kirk. I mean, if it were just an admiral, it would still be tense, but it's like, it's Admiral Kirk. And then this scrawny teenager pulls this prank on him, and he's laughing. That would cut tension so much. But Sky's reaction would still be exactly this. Okay. So, yeah, was it? Yes, okay. But there's more going on than that. So, Scotty is not the happiest about Peter's work with Savick. Not the work itself, but he is concerned with Peter forming a crush on her. And by the way, it's mentioned later, there was 6 years between them. So he is 14, she is 20. And this also helps with figuring out some other things as well, timeline-wise. So, yeah. Scotty's concerned about that, and it is actually kind of funny, because at one point it does say, he basically warns him, stop wearing your emotions on your sleeve. Not saying don't, just saying don't make it so obvious. But then later it is stated that he actually asked Spock to have the lessons come to an end. So he's trying to look out for his nephew, which, that's fair, but it is also, it's one of those things that it needs to be worked out in probably another way than just trying to cut it off. But in any case, so was there anything else to that? Oh, yeah. There's also, Scotty also more or less asks, where did you even come up with the idea to pull that joke on Kirk? It's like, well, Dana, it's like, oh, that's where, your older sister. Well, let me tell you about her. She's been nearly thrown in the brig so many times the computer can't count that high. And it doesn't matter that Scotty is saying the truth. And Peter is aware of this. And that apparently she was nearly kicked out of Starfleet at one point. He still adores her, so it's like, you shouldn't be saying about my sister. That there's an element of that, even if what you're saying is true. But it's also like, nah, still gonna look up to her, which is like, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I could believe that at that age, and I would expect that at that age, he will eventually grow out of needing role models, such as his sister in this case, likely also Scotty, potentially Kirk, certainly Savick as well. Different kind of role model she would be for him, but still a role model. That he's still progressing through that phase there. So, yeah, it makes some sense how... It really is going in a way that makes a lot of sense, and I am very satisfied with how this is written. But still, it was just kind of funny that basically, yep, she's a troublemaker. you really shouldn't be patterning your life after her, after Dana. And he's just like, yeah, well, she's my sister. I adore her, so gonna keep going like this. I mean, hopefully he does figure out to be more himself than trying to imitate anyone else. But yeah, okay. So now we get a little further because he now is racing off. He's already late. He's racing off to try to get to the math lesson. Savick has also been delayed. Let me adjust this so I'm not quite so far back from the camera. Savick is also running late because of just how things on the bridge were. So she's a little concerned because she's late when she gets there. He's not there, so she's like, "Did he leave already? Thinking I wasn't going to be here? I would have thought he'd wait even a little bit." Oh wait, he may also have been late because of the inspection tour. You know what? I'll just wait here for a while. But I also start getting the explanation for why she's even doing this, and it was actually Spock who had asked her to tutor him in advanced theoretical mathematics. And also we get Peter, 14, was nearly the same age as Savick had been when the Vulcan research team landed on her birth world, which is named Helgard, apparently. I'm just going to treat it as she was 14 when found. Okay. Savick had feared she would compare the charming and well-brought-up young Peter to the creature she had been on Helgard. She had feared she would resent the advantages childhood had presented to him and withheld from her. She feared her own anger and how she might react if she released it even for a moment. When she tried to explain all this to the captain, he listened considerately and with all evidence of understanding. Then he apologized for his own lack of clarity. He had not made a request. He'd given her an order which he expected Savick to carry out as part of her training. At this point, we get a lot more information. I had a feeling I was going to go to sleep soon. But there's also just unquestioning obedience was illogical, but trust was essential. But we end up getting now some of the more critical background between these two. And also, it even does mention that basically, if she disobeys him now, there's various things she can do to continue her training. None of them will allow her to stay under Spock. Why does that matter? Spock had been a member of the Vulcan exploratory expedition to Helgard. He alone forced the other Vulcans to accept their responsibility to the world's abandoned inhabitants, though he had many logical and unspoken excuses, far more involved, for denying any responsibility. Savick owed her existence as a civilized being and possibly her life. People died young and brutally on Helgard to Spock's intervention. She obeyed his order. Now, as I said, so she was about 14, and she's now 20, so it's 6 years prior, which does put this after the motion picture. Apparently Spock was on some sort of expedition, not sure why, that visited this colony and rescued her. And also, by the way, working this out, she would have been 5 at the time of Balance of Terror, which does make the whole we don't know what Romulans look like a little complicated. Okay. There's an... Where is it? Okay. I guess it's not highlighted. Let me read this highlight, though. Peter was intelligent and quick, and while their ages were sufficiently different that Peter was still a child and Savick an adult, they were in fact only 6 years apart. So this basically saying that, yes, they are very different just because she is, in theory, more mature than he is. Savick's character is not really the most mature, but is an adult. He is not. So that's really the main point there. Where is it, though? I mean, okay, so it starts here. Where it basically mentions that her concern about resenting him very much proved to be false. That, if anything, it helped her because it reinforced for her that what happened to her was the anomaly. That how Peter has been growing up that's the norm in the universe. Which, in some ways, that is true on Earth. In other ways, it's not. But like modern day Earth, you can see certain parallels and differences here. But yeah, it still taught her cruelty existed indeed, but natural law did not demand it. Okay. Yeah, but the captain, Spock, was far more subtle and complex than his Vulcan exterior permitted him to reveal. Perhaps he had not, as she had believed, given her this task to test her control of the angers that she so feared. Perhaps she was learning from Peter precisely what Spock had intended. So Spock very much has this fatherly role for her. And it is pretty neat to see he's actually like doing a pretty good job. That he is able to recognize things that will benefit her, not necessarily things that she needs, which comes up a little later. He's not really able to, he recognizes that he doesn't know all the answers to her questions and all the solutions to her problems. He knows that. But he will still recognize things that she should benefit from, and so makes her go through those things. In this case, makes her go to work with Peter. Which, by the way, I do want to acknowledge, as I was reading through some of this, I was thinking about In Search for Spock, and how will we see some of this, how Spock is treating her here, and has been treating her for years. Will be talked about in Search for Spock, how she treats him, like she is returning the favor, and essentially he will be benefiting, or that version of Spock will be benefiting from everything that she gained from him. It will be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. But I don't know. It's possible that it wasn't necessarily written to be, well, written as a direct sequel. Yes, it was written as a sequel, but I mean, it wasn't written with, Wrath of Khan wasn't written with Search for Spock in mind. So I don't know. It's possible some of the stuff will be dropped just because we're telling another story here. But I don't know. It will be interesting though, and I do look forward to it one way or the other. There is more. There's also. She does. So. Peter and her start talking. Just having a conversation about why is he late, why is he kind of upset, all that. And. Excuse me. He doesn't really want to explain. Partly because he doesn't want to admit to having a crush on her, which, yeah, he very likely does. He certainly does admire her and is affectionate towards her. Maybe not fully to the level of a crush, but you at least see the seeds of that there. But it still is, they talk about this, and there is the question of what does she view him as? What is the relationship, their relationship from her point of view? And she explains that Peter, I can't resolve your disagreement with your uncle. I can only tell you that when I was a child, I wished for something I could not name. Later, I found the name. It was friend. I found people to admire and people to respect, but never found a friend until now. He looked up at her. You mean me? Yes. Inexplicably, he burst into tears. Her point of view, inexplicably, he burst into tears. And I mean, yeah, it is very accurate that is... Okay, I don't think it's reasonable that she didn't have any friends on Helgard, especially once the Romulans left. I think that's unreasonable. But it still is... Well, okay, no. I still think it's unreasonable, but the friendships there may still have always been based in survival. That if we are friends and we can pool our resources, pool our skills to our mutual benefit. Whereas at this point with Peter, it is more so just they actually get along, they care about each other, and maybe there is some also special connection between them. Yeah. So Peter is of meaning he does matter to her. He does care. She does care about him, which also helps explain the whole. If Kirk laughs at him, I'll rip his liver out. It's like, okay, maybe tone that one down. Well, now we get a better idea for why. She is going to be very protective of him for that reason. Beyond just the whole, he's the kid. He's the child on board. Okay, so now we cut to Reliant, which it starts with Pavel Chekhov screamed. Nothing happened. So what it ends up describing here is that with the eel in there, he is not really in control of himself. He wants to do things, and he can't. He wants to not do things like not answer Khan, but he still hears his voice providing the answers. It does mention about what happened with the crew. Most of them were beamed down to the surface of the planet before they left. The engine room company remained, working in concert with each other and with eels. Out of 300 people, Khan had found only 10 troublesome enough to bother killing. Mr. Chekhov, I have a few questions to ask of you. Don't answer him. Yes, the questions began. He answered. He screamed inside his mind, but he felt the creature writhing inside his skull. He answered. Excuse me. Khan questioned Terrell only briefly, but it seemed to give him great pleasure to extract information from Chekhov. So I highlighted that because it is part of Khan's evil, Khan's menace, that because there is some connection here, Terrell, in a way, still doesn't know who Khan is. Even with what has happened, he still doesn't really know. Chekhov does. And so, to keep that dominance over Chekhov, to make sure Chekhov still feels so incapable, so impotent compared to him, that's something that Khan is enjoying. Because he's sick and twisted and mad. But yeah, that one line. Khan questioned Terrell only briefly, but seemed to give him great pleasure to extract information from Chekhov. That is a very powerful line there. And a single sentence, which tells you about how one sentence can be that powerful. Alright, so moving on. Yeah, I just want to check on this. Just later in the scene. Okay. I'm going to be pausing shortly. I need to get a drink of water, but I do want to finish this much at least. So, Joachim, I'm not sure how you pronounce his name. This is a scene where he basically is arguing with Khan that we have our freedom. That's what we all want. Why are we bothering with going after Genesis? Why are we bothering with going after Kirk? And basically, you've already defeated him by merely escaping. And Khan does explain, I made a promise 15 years ago, Joachim. You were witness to my oath then and when I repeated it. Until I keep my word to myself and to my wife, I am not free. Khan, my lord, she never desired revenge. You overstep your bounds, Joachim, Khan said dangerously, which, that's... I really need to get the water, so I just had to reach for it at least. So, I do find it interesting that he would even say that to Khan, though she did not desire revenge, which I certainly believe is true. But in Khan's defense, he's mad, he's insane, but in Khan's defense, this is what he knows. He knows action, he knows pain, he knows revenge. So, it's just one of those things about how characters, not just men, any character, but certainly it makes sense to show this with men. As much as he loves her, yes, he is going to betray her by seeking this revenge that, as Joachim says, she would not want. He will still betray that because that is what he knows. That without her, he falls back to his normal inclinations. And it is it is a very real thing. And it is interesting to have this humanizing Khan in a certain way. He's not completely larger than life. He is still, but it is like, because it helps with you understanding him to recognize this. And I do feel I understand him better. I understand what's going on here better. But that doesn't excuse him. He is still wrong. He is still betraying her. But this is why he's doing that, because it's ultimately what he knows. Okay. You overstep your bounds. Okay. The younger man caught his breath but plunged on. You escaped the prison James Kirk made for you. You've proved he couldn't hold you, Khan. You've won. He tasks me, Joachim. He tasks me, and I will have him. And I'll have him. The two men stared at each other. Joachim wavered and turned his head away. In 15 years, this is all I've asked for myself, Joachim, Khan said. I can have no new life, no new beginning until I achieve it. I know that you love me, my friend. But if you feel I have no right to any quest, say so. I will free you from the oath you swore to me. I'll never break that oath, my lord. Khan nodded. Regulus one, Joachim. He said gently, yes, Khan. When I read that with the whole, I will free you from the oath, it did occur to me, is he saying I will kill you? That might be what he means. It's like, I will free you from the oath by taking your life. Khan, maybe at this point, wouldn't be that far gone. But at the same time, I could definitely believe it's we will abandon you somewhere. It's like, okay, you're off the crew at minimum. So, Joachim loves him. Does have a love for him, because Khan is his lord. And yeah. And his friend and all that. So, he's not going to leave him. Has no desire to betray him. Even by just leaving. But it's still he felt he had to. Like, you don't need to do this. I'm with you, but you don't need to do it. Alright, so now I gotta pause the recording to get some water. For context on that, on needing the water, I've not been drinking enough water all day, so. Alright, oh, yeah. So, among the questions that Khan had asked Chekhov is, because he now knows about Genesis, it's like, okay, would Kirk know? I don't know. Is it possible for him to learn? Yes. He's an admiral at the... Crap, I don't remember what level it was said. Nope, just don't remember, and I don't feel like continuing to look for it. But basically that Kirk is at a high enough level that even if he is not immediately aware of it, he can be. Which that's not how classifications work, but no, it is true. That's not really how they work. So we have, what is it? In America, there's confidential, secret, and then top secret, where top secret is the highest. But there's also compartmentalization. So, I'm just trying to think, what would be a fair way to... Air Force, top secret, new fighter jet. Okay. Super advanced, wonderful, amazing, all that. Army, top secret, new tank, super advanced, wonderful, all that. They're both top secret. Somebody in the FBI may have clearance for top secret. Would not be able to see either of those. But I have top secret clearance. That's not how it works. You have no reason to know this. You don't even have a reason to know it exists. So no, you don't get to know. It doesn't matter that you have top secret clearance. Not how that works. And actually, in a way, the FBI might be a better way of describing it as well. In that even though you might have the clearance to see another investigation, it can still be no, it's not your investigation, you're not assigned to it. You're not allowed to see it. So, yeah. But still, when later on, it is in this chapter where Kirk takes the call from Carol, who it's being jammed, but he's asking, who's taking Genesis? So it is implied he does know what Genesis is. even though he's not directly involved in the project. Alright, I had to highlight this because I found it amusing. They are now on regular one with the scientist. Carol has finished some programming, wants to save it on the computer, which has this really super duper advanced memory system, but it's full. It's like, how is this full? We just installed new. David, didn't you install a new memory? Yeah, I had to make a new bath for it. The data is being stored on bubbles, magnetic bubbles, in liquid hydrogen, I think it may have said. Yeah. By arranging infinitesimal magnetic bubbles within a matrix held in a bath of liquid hydrogen near absolute zero. No, but keep going. Storage was very efficient and very fast, and the volume extremely large. But Genesis involves so much data, it always gets filled up rapidly. Liquid hydrogen is not that near absolute zero. It's actually funny. The distance between solid and liquid hydrogen is very small, but I think they're both around 4 Kelvin. Liquid helium, on the other hand, that's at like 0.001, maybe it's 0.01 Kelvin, and this is actually not that surprising, because helium is the smallest noble gas. It doesn't want to form bonds with anything, so why would it necessarily want to go into a liquid and get nearer to itself? It has no ability to really interact with itself, even so. Yeah, and then getting to a solid is even closer to absolute zero. Whereas hydrogen is at I don't remember the term, but hydrogen is, there's molecular hydrogen and atomic hydrogen, because hydrogen normally wants to pair with something very often itself. So H2 is its common state. That's molecular hydrogen. There is atomic hydrogen as well, which is just a single atom, but that's not common because it readily wants to bind with anything. So it actually makes sense then that it would liquefy more easily. And I'm just also trying to remember, isn't that the case? That kind of rule of thumb, the larger a particle is, the easier it is to cool, to liquefy. I'm trying to remember if that's the case or not. Crap, it's been long enough since I've done some of that, and I'm tired enough to not quite remember. But it could also just be the fact that hydrogen likes to bind with itself, that also will make it a little easier to chill. Anyhow, well, to liquefy him. But anyway, despite all that, they run out of data. It's like, why? Hey, has somebody been putting something on here? All right, you guys, Carol said. Del, have you been using my bubble bath again? I would not be surprised if either the notion of it being this bubble memory thing was come up with so they could have this joke of, so you using my bubble bath again, or if it was they came up well with the bubble memory, it's like, let's make a joke about bubble baths. It's like, I mean, regardless, it's a funny line. Not meant to be fun. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I do like that Savick seemingly is not meant to be humorous, but plenty of times is. I am finding it funny. Not in a bad way. Just, yeah, having fun there. Dale approached, hanging his head. Vance followed, walking with his easy slouch. They're like a couple of kids, Carol thought. Like kids? They are kids. They were only a few years older than David. Geez, Carol, Dell said. It's just a little something. Dell, there's going to be 93 computers on Space... There's got to be 93 computers on Space Lab. But why do you have to put your games on the main machine? They work a lot better, Vance said in his soft, beautiful voice. Hang on. Let me just quickly look at something. Nope, okay. I don't know why it's being described that Vance has a beautiful voice. But in any case, yes, they put their video game on the main computer because it runs faster. And it's like, I have never done this. But, yeah, that's exactly what these people would do. And it's also funny because it's like, alright, computer, get ready to delete it. No, don't do that, we'll lose it all. I'm not really in the mood for this. Fine. We'll move it over to that computer. There's enough space. What are you talking about? Because they've not only been playing the game, they've also been building it out, apparently. But I did find this funny. Carol, I don't think it'll fit in that one. How big is it? Well, about 50 megs. Now, to be fair, we don't know what megs are in this context. We don't know what the underlying unit is. Is it bytes? If it's megabytes, here's 128 gigabytes. I got 10 terabytes there on a hard drive. 6 terabytes, 2 terabytes. This I think is 32, 16 or 32 at least. I don't remember. It is just funny how. As I said, we don't know if it's megabytes, if megs is referring to megabytes, but it still is kind of funny that back then it was like, that's a lot. Okay. So while they're arguing, and they do solve this, by the way, Reliant calls in, and it's Chekhov there, which again, I could believe Khan is making Chekhov do it because he derives this perverse pleasure from it being Chekhov specifically. And it's the whole, very much like what's in the movie, not quite, but basically saying that we're going to come and pick up Genesis in a few days. You can't. We have autonomy here. That's not how this works. It's like doing it anyway. And the explanation here is Khan wants to confront Kirk. He needs to get a hold of Kirk. How can he do that? Would he know of Genesis? I don't know, but he could. So, okay, we're going to tell them that it was Kirk's order to have it taken. That will prompt him to come. So it is very intelligent. But one thing that I did highlight here, Chekhov paused again, glanced away again. What's going on out there, Carol thought. So she is picking up on this. She is aware that there is something off here, which is potentially also feeding her willingness to. They have 3 days to gather up everything they can and hide it, so that, in theory, Starfleet, but won't be able to get it. But also, just something's wrong here, and there's also the point. Once they get their hands on Genesis, they're never going to give it back to the scientists. So she is inclined, for that reason, to not let them have it. But no, she can sense something is up, and it's also funny. She yells at David. Okay, yeah, it's actually right here, fortunately. David, stop it. You're always accusing the military of raving paranoia. What do you think you're working up to? Then we get the Starfleet's kept the peace for 100 years, which is in the movie. But it's still just a little interesting that... Because, it is, yeah, he is straight up, David is paranoid about the military, and she's calling out the fact that you're calling them the very thing you are proving yourself to be. But, yeah, so they are going to have to figure this out. But one thing also that was interesting here, there are 2 Deltans among the scientists. And there's a lot, part of a paragraph here that I want to read because it kind of undoes the motion picture a little bit, well, at least certain aspects of it. Like Jeddah, Zenaida was a Deltan. Deltans tended to work and travel in groups, or at the very least in pairs. For a Deltan alone was terribly isolated. They required emotional and physical closeness of such intensity that no other sentient being could long survive intimacy with one of them. So Ilea should not have been alone, but also the whole no other species could really survive that intimacy, meaning Decker should have died, and yet, those were complaints that I had about the motion picture. This is a solution for Deltans, but it is also saying that, yes, the motion picture was wrong. What I mean by it is a solution for Deltans is it's saying, no. It is you can't have a non-Deltan be intimate with them. It will kill that person. Just flat out saying that, so they always travel at minimum in pairs. So it's like, that is just solving the problem of how you address it kills people. You don't let it be other people. You only let it be other dolphins. Problem solved. Motion picture, don't ask. Just don't ask. It was somebody else. It was being done for other reasons, and it was stupid. Or poorly handled, I should say. Okay. So, and let me just... Okay. So now we have the whole Savick and Kirk in the turbo lift, which, one thing interesting, it doesn't, in the movie, it does show Savick, like, reaching over to hit the stop button so they can talk a little longer, which explains why McCoy is like, who's holding up the damn elevator? Because it was being held up. In this, there's no mention of that, though he is still upset that it took so long. But they're talking. And it starts with her being upset with the whole, why'd you give me a high efficiency rating? You earned it. I did not think so. Because of the results of the Kobayashi Maru, I failed to resolve the situation, Savick said. You couldn't. There isn't any resolution. It's a test of character. He'd already kind of told her this. It is odd how much this is having to be repeated to her. But it's also kind of like, I failed to resolve the situation. You died. That resolved it. Is true. That is a resolution. Yeah, okay, I'll just keep reading it. That's going to be the easiest way to explain all. Was the test a part of your training, Admiral? It certainly was, Jim Kirk said with a smile. May I ask how you dealt with it? You may ask, Lieutenant. Kirk laughed. She froze. That was a little joke, Lieutenant. Admiral, she said carefully, the jokes human beings make differ considerably from those with which I am familiar. What jokes exactly do you mean? The jokes of Romulans. Do you want to know? Jim Kirk asked himself. You don't want to know. And it's just, yep. Yep. That's exactly what my response would be. It's like, what's a Romulan joke? It's like, I would take a Klingon joke over a Romulan joke. I mean, Klingon joke is probably gonna, well, it'll be boisterous. It might be inappropriate in mixed company, but I suspect it would be still entertaining. A Romulan joke, less so. But then there was one thing here that I do find a little confusing. Lieutenant, do you want my advice? Yes, she said in an odd tone of voice. You're allowed to take the test more than once. If you're dissatisfied with your performance, you should take it again. I don't understand why. It's a test of character. Repeating the test isn't a benefit to anyone. And it certainly isn't to her once she knows it, that it is a test of character. So, yeah, it is... I don't understand that. I really don't. Yeah. Okay, so then it's the whole... Get the call from Carol. He's like, I don't know what's going on here. Uhura, get me Starfleet. And now it's a, go to the bridge. Note, I'm in command now. Special orders from Starfleet. Sulu, warp 5 to regular 1. And then he goes to see Spock. Who was laid on a polished slab of Vulcan granite, his meditation stone. He was like just about to go into, well, he was already in a light trance. He was about to go into a deeper one when the doorbell went off. But now they're talking. And this is starting with Spock. The ship, of course, is yours. Spock, I already diverted the Enterprise. Haste seemed essential at the time. The time to which you are referring, I assume, is 2 minutes and 13 seconds ago when the ship entered warp speed. Kirk grinned sheepishly. I should have come here first, I know. Admiral, I repeat, the ship is yours. I am a teacher. This is no longer a training cruise, but a mission. It is only logical for the senior officer to assume command. I highlight that just because I do like that, the whole, I assume that at the time, it's like, I assume that was when we entered warp, and it's Spock is he's not challenging Kirk on this, not at all. And it's like, the ship is yours, of course, and the whole, I'm a teacher. This stopped being a training cruise. This is a mission now. You are in command. There's no issue here. You get the whole "I have no ego to bruise" line in here as well, but it's like, dude, you're my friend. You've not hurt me. You've not betrayed me. You've done what you felt was necessary, and I have no reason to disagree with you. But they do agree that they should together go to, because Kirk did not explain why. He just gave orders. So, and then he went to Spock. So it is they are going to go up to the bridge together to explain things to the bridge crew. They're also going to talk to Scotty, so his engineering crew knows what's up as well, at least partially. Then we get to the final larger scene of the story. I mean, it's really just still one scene, which is Saavik getting lunch. This is a little interesting. She hesitated over her choice of lunch. She would have preferred steak tartare, but the captain considered eating meat, raw meat in particular, an uncivilized practice at best. Consequently, Saavik ordinarily chose something else when she was to take a meal in his company. She had tried for a long time to conform to the Vulcan ideal, vegetarianism, but it succeeded only in making herself thoroughly sick. I like this woman. I'm sorry, I like meat. The idea of, it's like, I can understand vegetarianism. I can. There's some aspects of it that I recognize are stupid, but, so I can understand it, but it's like, she likes her meat. I'm good with that. Although, raw meat. Woman, we're gonna cook that. Okay? No. I don't understand the desire to consume raw meat, which that's what steak tartare is, in case you're not sure. It's like, that's got to be a Romulan thing, or maybe just the whole, what are you talking about cooking? It's like, we had it, we ate it. We didn't concern ourselves with cooking. Which would be a good way to get sick, but in any case, it's still... So, she's at the mess hall. So is Spock. And she goes up, it also mentions that she has an egg dish, which is kind of an in-between. But it is so bland, she has to put on sesame oil and pipali, a fiery spice, that apparently Peter once tried a taste of, and she hadn't warned him about how powerful it is. He described it as, once he could start talking again, a sort of combination of distilled chili and nuclear fission. But anyway, she joins him, and they start talking, and Spock mentions that Scotty has requested that Peter's tutorial be suspended. And supposedly because, well, the engines need more work and Peter's needed in engineering, so I can't spare him. It's like, Saavik's like, last time we checked, they were at 150%. Hang on. Just scored 150% on the post-overhaul testing. So it's like, that can't be it. They get talking, and legitimately, this back and forth, it really is very well done. I very much am satisfied by it. I think it is very, very well done, as I just said. I just want to check my notes on this. And I couldn't highlight anything, because I would have been highlighting the whole frickin' thing. I really, really enjoyed it. And it is multiple pages long. But they basically, it's two half of Vulcans trying to reason out human behavior. There is a level of entertainment just from that, but it is still with a good amount of respect. And it is, they basically do reason out that, yeah, Scotty is concerned that Peter has developed a crush on Saavik and doesn't want that encouraged. Well, doesn't want that to happen. But yeah, even here. He preferred not to repeat part of it. He said it was too dumb. He seemed embarrassed. this was while they're talking, so Spock is getting better understanding of what's going on. Yeah. Saavik, Spock said, has the cadet shown any signs of serious attachment to you? What do you mean, sir? Does he express affection towards you? I suppose one might say that, Captain. He appeared quite relieved when I told him that I do not consider him a pest, and I must confess, I am rather fond of him. He's a sweet-natured and conscientious child. But he is, Spock said carefully, a child. So we do get a little bit of that here, and it is interesting because what's being written here, not what is being written and how it's being written, not the subject itself. Not to say it is uninteresting, but that Spock, okay, a relationship between them would be improper, both because their ranks, but also the age difference is not necessarily great. Mainly because 6 years is not necessarily that big a deal, but the fact that he is still a child. And Spock even points out that, well, yes, such a relationship would be improper. He has no doubt that Saavik has only been conducting herself properly, that nothing wrong has happened. But it is still that there's a certain sensitivity on her part to not be accused of even doing anything improper. But at the same time, they have to acknowledge that that is likely the concern here, and how can they best handle this? Yes, and also, a crush for humans is something like falling in love. However, it occurs only in very young members of the species and is looked upon with great amusement by older members. And then Spock continued, you must deal with it as best you can, as gently as you can. Human beings are very, very vulnerable in these matters, and very easily hurt. And as you quite correctly point out, it would be improper. Mr. Spock, she said, returning to the title she had used for him for many years, Peter is a child. And even if falling in love is a flaw of human nature, it is not one of Vulcan nature. Technically not true, but you are not a Vulcan, Spock said. She actually stood up at that. She was not happy with it. Sit down, Spock said gently. Unwillingly she obeyed. Saavik, do not misunderstand me. Your behavior as regards Cadet Preston, it's Peter Preston, is completely proper. I entertain no doubts of that. I am not concerned with him for the moment, but with you. And we get to, again, this moves very naturally into some stuff that's coming up here. I've tried to learn Vulcan ways, she said. If you tell me where I failed, nor are we speaking of failure, I don't understand. I chose the Vulcan path when I was very young. For many years, I considered it the best, indeed the only possible choice for any reasoning being. But he stopped for a moment and then appeared to change the subject. I spoke to you of tolerance and understanding, Saavik nodded. I've come to realize that what is proper for one being may not be correct for another. In fact, it may be destructive. The choice is more difficult for someone with two cultures. She's like, I have only one, who must choose between them, or choose to follow another's lead, or choose a path that is unique. You are unique, Saavik. Mr. Spock, what does this have to do with Peter Preston? It has nothing to do with Mr. Preston. Then what is it you were trying to say to me? And now I've actually gone to what I've highlighted. What I'm trying to say, and I am perhaps not the most competent person to say it, but there's no other, is that some of the decisions you make about your life may differ from what I might decide, or even from what I might advise. You should be prepared for this possibility so that you do not reject it when it appears. Do you understand? She doesn't. Well, now, I'd like to think about what you've said, Captain. Yeah. And then it does just end, because this is nearly the end of the chapter. It does end with the question of, what are we doing about his lessons? And Spock is like, because do you want them ended? And Spock's like, no. We'll wait a couple days and then resume them, because by then, hopefully, Adi's concerns will have abated. But yeah, I mean, I really do like how that relationship is between them, because of Spock being that mentor kind of role, but at the same time, as I said before, he doesn't necessarily know what she needs. He just is able to know, he can estimate what will benefit her. And so tries to give that to her. And she doesn't quite understand that because, just like how I was also saying with Peter at that age of 14, is potentially still trying to figure out himself. Well, so is Saavik. She is also trying to figure out herself, but it's kind of a greater struggle for her because she both likely is trying to attach herself to the Vulcan side because the Romulans betrayed her so horribly, to Spock, who freed her and basically saved her life. But this does also mean she has to be around humans, which she has no direct connection with, no affinity for. And so it's just, she has to, as Spock said, you are unique. So you have to find your own path, which might be a unique one. You might not have anything else to go by. I will also mention that it did enter my mind briefly the whole, when he points out, oh crap, what was it? About the opportunity. You should be prepared for the possibility so that you do not reject it when it appears. It is an interesting line because potentially what he's saying there, he's acknowledging that, while for him, he's never fallen in love, that is something that might be what happens for her, and that she should be not shut down from that possibility. She should consider that possible, and if it does occur, then to be willing to take that opportunity. I do disagree, and because I did say it earlier, I do disagree with the idea that Vulcans do not fall in love. Because Sarek, his own father, married a human woman. Why? It seemed logical at the time. But it's like, if watching that episode, Journey to Babel, is that season 2? I think that's season 2. You can tell from the performances there and how Mark Leonard is treating Amanda. Crap, I don't remember the actress's name. That there was meant to be chemistry there. That it is, the character does love her. So yes, did fall in love. Did fall in love. Because there's also that aspect of, I've been critical of Ponfar for so long, but I'm going to go back and also complain about it in the motion picture videos. An aspect of that is Spock in Amok Time was betrothed at a young age. Well, that fell apart, but it's like, once he's an adult, what would prompt him to choose one mate over another? Because it's no longer he was betrothed because, his family, the two families decided, it would be him making the decision. And would that be purely logical, or would there be emotional affinity, love? I want to emphasize affinity there because, no, it's not going to be emotion, but it will also be logical that if you feel something towards somebody, that you would choose them over somebody that you feel nothing towards. Otherwise you could see Vulcans becoming horrible eugenicists. Because, it's logical for these two to mate because their children will most likely be superior than if either of them would have mated with others. It's like, I don't think we want the Vulcans going there. Could be wrong, but I don't think so. But I could understand the idea, the concept that they would not fall in love in the same way in the context that humans do. That they might be, well, not the falling part, I guess, but the in love part. I would think they could also experience. Yeah, that's kind of it. It's kind of it. I did want to criticize that point there. But still, I really did enjoy the chapter, and the interplay with Carol and the other scientists, the interplay between Saavik and Spock, the interplay between Saavik and Peter, between Peter and... Okay, well, Peter and Scotty wasn't so great because it was so hard to read Scotty. But it really has been a very good chapter. I'm very, very much looking forward to the rest of the story and the next ones as well. So, Vonda, don't let me down. Hopefully, the next two are also very good. I will also acknowledge this though, because well, that's true. It might actually be in the next chapter, or at least not long after. Hang on, let me just quickly see something. Okay. It is starting with chapter 5 is starting with Peter. He dies. So he is the in the movie when Scotty appears in the turbo lift at the bridge and is holding somebody. That is Peter. I don't think he's ever named in the movie, but there's also Kirk is there. It's like, is the word given? Yes. And it's like that scene that's supposed to be Peter. That's also why Scotty is so choked up at the whole. He stayed by his post. While everyone else ran away, he stayed by his post. So it's not just the loss of one of his crew; it's also loss of family there for him. So it will be interesting also then to see Savik's reaction to this as well. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it as we get there and seeing all of it work out. So okay, let me also just add this. I know I keep making these things longer. I am looking forward to it here because I do feel like this story is being written such that these setups will have payoffs. That there is enough care being written in this stuff, to what I've already read, that we will get payoffs like that. Like, what is Savik's reaction to his death? Like, does she now want to rip Khan's liver out? Which might be appropriate, given his Prometheus reference earlier. Whereas in the motion picture, there were times when it's like, it feels like there's a setup. Well, no, there were setups, but then no payoffs. So that was frustrating. Here, I do feel like this is going to pay off, which if it doesn't, I will be very annoyed. But it's still, I'm feeling good. I'm looking forward to what's coming next. I really am. All right. See you next time.